General Mark Davis of the Confederate Forces of America. Today is April the 20th, 2022. We're going to be talking a little bit today. We may not be on here too long today in this video. Um, Basically, what I'm going to be talking about is the history of things that happened in the past and tied into what's going on right now. Of course, we know what happened in 2020. We'll briefly talk about that. Um, and I'll talk about when I was growing up a little bit of the history, not much, but just a little segment of it so people will understand where I'm coming from. Back in the 1970s, growing up, of course, I was born in 65, but um, knew a little bit of the 60s just as an infant, but that's about all I can remember. Some events of the later events of the 60s, but mostly growing up in the 70s, graduating in 84. In the 1970s, uh, the town that I grew up in, uh, everybody knew everybody. It was one of those type of towns. You knew everybody. They knew you. You knew them. There was black people. There was white people. I went to their house, had supper with black people. They came to my house, had supper with me. They went to my church. I was friends with them. You can go to anybody's house, whether it be white, black, whatever color it may be. There was no issues. There was no racial issues whatsoever. Racial issues started up around the time that when Obama got in as president, and and I had friends that were black, and got friends that are black now. Obama, he I don't know what it is. His deal is he brought back hatred for shouldn't have been put in as president because he's the one that started the uh, Black Lives Matter organization, and um, and we're going to be talking about what the Black Lives Matter organization, what it actually is, um, and nothing to do with good black people. It has nothing to do with good black people. There's bad black people that's part of this organization, which it is a terrorist organization. Um, and here's where they messed up. Black Lives Matter messed up. Of course, there have been other incidents before the George Floyd. Um, we looked at the Charlottesville in 2017. That was the first year Trump was president. I had some friends that were. Um, I had one friend I knew personally that was there at Charlottesville, and he was telling me what they did to BLM and Antifa, which I think was funny. And BLM, according to what I was told, they basically got their butts handed to them. BLM and Antifa got their butts handed to them, and maybe it was, I guess it was revenge later on in 2020, Trump's last year in office, when they wanted to get back at people for what happened to them in 2017. I don't know. I don't know. All I know is this, um, and we're going to be talking about the police a little bit here. We're going to talk about that briefly. Um, in the 1980s, I would say probably the late 80s and the 90s, um, and this is across the nation. And this is before they had the police had to carry these body cams and everything. Uh, there's no denying that the police, prior to their interactions with Black Lives Matter, there's no denying that the police have been abusive in situations, and but what a lot of the black people that's been complaining about the police, and the black people that resisted arrest and did all these violent acts, what a lot of these black people don't realize is that police officers, to a police officer, a police officer doesn't care if you're white, they don't care if you're black, they don't care what color you are. They treat everybody the same. Some police officers treat people with respect. Some of them don't treat people with respect. There's some good cops and there's some bad cops. If you misbehave to a police officer, and I don't care what color you are, they're going to use force on you or excessive force on you. I've came across this one sheriff's deputy, kind of reminds me of Braun Strowman, the way he acts. He threw his weight around. He wants all the people that he dealt with. He was with the Jackson County Sheriff's Department. He was a deputy, real cocky SOB, and he liked to throw his weight around. And he was a big guy, and that's the thing that Black Lives Matter don't understand. They think that they're the only ones that get abused by police. Well, I'm sorry to say it, but that's false. That's false. The thing that the Black Lives Matter messed up on big time, and they would have had more allies, is the incident, and we're talking about specifically about the George Floyd incident. We're not talking about what happened before that, what happened in 2019, 2018, 2016, or years before when they started their organization. We're not even talking about that. We're just talking about it. One incident, about the George Floyd incident. I'm not even counting what went on between George Floyd and the police. And, of course, he was on fentanyl, and whether he was resisting arrest or not, which he probably was or wasn't, I don't know. I can't tell you. When you're on drugs, and it kind of reminds me of the Rodney King situation, which he was on drugs, and the police may or may not use excessive force on Rodney King. And at the end of the day, I think it was by 2000 or something, they found Rodney King in the bottom of a pool, drowned, and that's what happened to Rodney King. In the George Floyd situation, which the black community, which they went and they got help from the Black Lives Matter organization. They didn't say, "Oh, it's just a black issue." They went to that organization. I believe that's how it works. Is there's black people, they'll say, well, we'll contact the Black Lives Matter organization, which it is a terrorist organization. That's what it's morphed into. We'll contact the Black Lives Matter organization and to take care of this situation, which that was one of the mistakes that black people shouldn't have done. What they should have done is they should have contacted white people or different people. They said, well, first of all, we don't want no help from anybody, not concerned citizens. They think this was a black issue, and they went after white people completely. And they said, well, we're going to, it wasn't, they just kept it. They didn't keep it in that specific town to go after the police officers. They turned this into a nationwide thing, like the Rodney King situation. Instead of being calm about it, which black people get killed all the time, and in these cities all the time, and it's normal for a black person to get killed all the time in the crime areas. And what's the difference between a black person getting killed by gang violence and a police officer? There's really no difference. It's a tragedy, no matter where, originate from. It really doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, someone died, and whether it's by a police officer or another person, it doesn't really make a difference at the end of the day. It really doesn't. The fact is, they say, well, the police officer is responsible. Well, he had drugs in his system, which could have aggravated the situation. If you're on drugs, I was overdosed on. I was on Benadryl and some other drug that could have killed me. And I know what drugs can do to a person from firsthand experience. So they can't completely put all the blame on the police on that situation. There was a give and take type of situation. But yes, they had, okay, fine, you protest, but keep it in that city and go after the police in that city. But they didn't want to do that. They went nationwide, went to this city, went to that city, destroyed property, burned buildings, killed people, shot white people. Didn't just go after the police. They went after anybody other unless you're a black person. It's as simple as that. And yet there's organizations that support Black Lives Matter, a known terrorist organization. I'm disappointed in the Patriot movement. I'm disappointed in the 3%ers. And all these other groups that did not stand up to them. And I have to be very careful in what I say on YouTube, because there's censors that may or may not like what I say when it comes to this. But the truth has to come out. And we're recruiting people right now to join with us, the CFA. We've got a website, www.cfacsa.com. Of course, it'll be screened. And getting back to what I was saying, they would have more support. Black Lives Matter would have had more support had they have taken a more nonviolent approach in how they were dealing with this George Floyd situation. And you got to remember, the George Floyd mural that they put up, lightning struck it and took it down. And that, not only that, they went after Confederate monuments, which they had no right to go after those monuments. And this was all working with the Democrat governors, who was taken down with Nancy Pelosi and these Democrat mayors, Democrat governors, parts of the federal government that was going after these monuments. And then they went after, I was informed by one of my generals that they went after President Andrew Jackson thing in my state. I didn't know about that. But I'm going to tell you right now, and they went after all the monuments in Virginia and North Carolina and some other states, but they better not try doing that in my state in Tennessee. They better not try doing that here. These other states like Virginia, North Carolina, Georgia, especially Georgia, Alabama, all these other states, I'm looking for the Confederates, who are probably the only ones that really care about these monuments, because non-Confederates don't. Delta Whiskey, which, and I'll say, and I will call him out. Arev, I don't have an issue with you because I could reason with you, but Delta Whiskey, you have a loud mouth, basically. When we were dealing with the thing that was going on last year, the 6th, I said it's not a good idea. I told people not to go up there. That thing that happened up there at the 6 was done by Antiva BLM to make the Patriots look bad. And I knew, and talking to one of my generals, we knew, and we told people not to go up in there, and they didn't listen to us. We knew it was a setup from the get-go. I've talked to the FBI, not last year, but the year before, I believe. They came out and talked to me, and I'm going to say right now, if the FBI, whoever's watching this, it's with law enforcement. Here's the bottom line. You know everything about what's going on, but I can tell you right now, the CFA is not going to allow our country to be destroyed by anybody. I don't care who it is. When we talk about what's going on right now, Joe Biden doesn't care about black people at all, period. And a lot of black people voted for Joe Biden thinking, well, he's got our back, but he doesn't like black people. Number one, I don't have a problem with black people. I'm going to let people know this right now. I don't have a problem with black people. I have a problem with the Black Lives Matter organization. It's just like there's organizations that's run by white people. There's some organizations I have problems with. Okay. There's a lot of groups out here I have issues with, and they're run by white people. Just like with Black Lives Matter. Antiva is another organization I have a problem with, which they're working with them, and the Boogaloo Boys, and which I'm going to say this again. We will protect our monuments. We will protect the graves. We don't want anybody messing with these monuments and graves. You've had your little hurrah, your little terror campaign, and you're about to get spanked if you push it one more time. If you push it one more time, you're gonna get spanked. Now, this is me talking and me and my group talking here. This is not the Patriots talking. This is not the Confederates talking. This is not the 3%ers talking. This is me talking and my organization talking. Anybody that tries to take away our freedom, destroy our history, destroy our heritage, monuments, graves, whatever it may be, they're going to get their butts kicked. Whoever or whatever it is, it don't matter where it's coming from. It don't matter if it's some other country. And we believe that the United States has no business sticking their nose in the business between Ukraine and Russia. That's none of our business. Because of what Joe Biden's doing right now could end us up in World War III with Russia. I don't have no problem at all with Putin. At all. I don't have no issue with him at all. That's an internal affair between him and Ukraine. No matter what you see going on up there, that's none of our business. That's not the United States' business. Okay? Biden and what's going on there in the Capitol, U.S. Capitol, okay? They do not represent me. They do not represent my group. They do not represent the American people. They're an outlaw organization that have hijacked freedom. Freedom's not free, okay? Freedom is not free. There's a sacrifice that will have to be made in this struggle. If the Russians, if Biden's watching this, if the U.S. government's watching this, if the FBI is watching this, if President Putin's watching this, I want President Putin to know something. Biden does not speak for the American people. I've said it over and over again that I've condemned the actions of Biden and interference in your affairs in Ukraine. That's between you two. We got enough problems here in America, okay? And we have no business sticking our nose in your business, okay? And we haven't sticked our nose in your business. That's the actions of Biden. That's the action of DC, not the rest of America. DC is what you need to go after. DC, not after us, not the American people. We believe that China and Taiwan could work out their little thing together, and North Korea and South Korea and Japan and all those countries could whatever they want to do. We don't believe in interfering whatever they do over there, as well as what Russia does where they live at, Ukraine. But also, we believe on the other hand, we believe that this is our territory. We have rights in our territory. We have territory rights in Cuba and Canada, Central and South America, and we don't want other countries outside our hemisphere, outside of our area in the Americas. We don't want other countries like Russia, China, or other countries in Europe or Asia or the Middle East. We don't want them interfering or having any of their bases in our area that could threaten our sovereignty, threaten our freedom here. We don't want foreigners from other countries coming here and interfering in what we're doing. We don't want the Chinese students in our country. Okay, we don't want them here. They're unwelcome. They're enemies of America. They're spying on the American people and giving it to the Chinese government. First of all, the American people need to get off their butts and start making American-made products. That's number one. They need to stop using China. And all the products they have has got poison in it. We get food from them. We get products from them. Electronics, you name it, furniture, whatever. We should be making stuff here in America. Everything across the board. Electronics, furniture, whatever it may be. Even down to our own food, we're getting it from China. No. This is something we are demanding, that everything be made in America, not from China. We do not want to do business with China. We do not recognize China. We recognize China as a communist dictatorship. There's no way I could coexist with China, because China, personally, like I said, they're out to kill whoever it was in the world. They're no friends with anybody. Russia thinks they're friends, but at the end of the day, China's only looking out for China. Well, I'm going to say this. The CFA is only looking out for the CFA and the American people. Now, if people in America want to work with us, they can work with us. We believe that we could do trade with Russia and some of these countries that we can do business with, that we can reason with. And no one gets screwed over, no backstabbing, mutual respect, mutual trust between us and other nations. We believe in that. And we are very respectful, but we're not going to get stabbed in the back. We're not going to get taken advantage of. I want people to understand this very clear, very clear, very clear. I've been talking to a lot of people. And our freedom is not going to be taken away without there being whoever wants to go after the American people. They're going to have to deal with people like me, who's going to stand in their way, who's going to fight for freedom. I don't care where you're at, what country you're at, and you come in here thinking you're going to push the American people around, and it's not happening. As I said before, Joe Biden does not speak for the American people. Nancy Pelosi, or anybody up there in Washington, D.C. I speak for the American people. Okay? They're up there illegally. I do not recognize them. Okay? That's number one. Number two, very most important, that behind me right there, that flag, that's my flag. That's the flag of America. That's the real flag of America right there, the First National. I do not recognize the United States flag. That's the official flag of America. Okay? So that's where my position's at. And I'll fly that flag proudly. So that's why I fly. That's what I recognize as America, not the United States of America. How can you have states called United States when their laws are not the same in every state? They're not. The death penalty in every state is different. Some states, they don't have the death penalty. I believe California is one of them. They were going to execute the entire Manson family, and they decided not to have a capital offense in California. So Charles Manson got life. The whole Manson family should have been executed. The entire Manson family should have been executed. The killer of Rebecca Schaefer, Robert Bardo, should have been, and even today should be executed. Robert Bardo. Saran, the man who killed Robert Kennedy. Okay, and now even parts of the Kennedy family are. I mean, if that had been my dad, I wouldn't have said, "Oh yeah, Saran needs to be pardoned." No, you know, whoever killed Kennedy is dead. John F. Kennedy, the one that killed Robert Kennedy, he's still alive. He's in prison, and now they're talking about letting him go. And there's lots of serial killers out there in our entire criminal justice system. And they find someone guilty without the shadow of a doubt, and even see rape, incest, kidnapping, first-degree murder. See, these people should get the death penalty, and once they find out. So kidnapping is not a death penalty offense. That's what's going to change. That is going to change. Kidnapping is going to be death penalty case. Kidnapping, rape, whatever. Okay. There will be more added to the death penalty cases, and these death penalties will be carried out, whatever method it may be it hanging, firing squad, lethal injection, gas chamber, gallows, whatever it may be. They will be carried out. Once they find a person is guilty without a shadow of a doubt, there's no doubt at all, they are guilty, then the sentence will be carried out. And that's the way it's going to be set up like once the CFA has control, complete control. And we will be working on that and see that give the American people the option, the choice that if you want a better country than what you have right now, not the country you have here when you have these people up in DC, don't call them leaders. How can you call them leaders when we don't have the power? We do not have the power to vote on the laws. I don't know if people are aware of this, and I'm going to tell the true history. Starting off with the Civil War. There was a gentleman's agreement between Grant and Robert E. Lee. A lot of people think, well, the Confederacy lost the war. Okay, no one lost that war. No one lost that war, whether it be Union or Confederate. Now, Lee made some mistakes at Gettysburg. We could have won the war on that, but Despite that, both sides. In fact, there was more Union soldiers killed in the Civil War. It was a gentleman's agreement, toss of the coin, that that the Confederacy, they say, we're going to stop it, and whoever loses on the flip of the coin, you can say you're the victor, whatever. Okay, and Lee didn't have to give up his sword, and then the next day later, Grant ordered the Confederates to give up their weapons. But like I said, this was a gentleman's agreement. This was they agreed, hey, we need to stop the war. So that's the truth about it, the whole situation right there. Okay, that's number one. Number two, the about the laws. The American people do not have the power right now to vote on the laws that affects us. We're supposed to tell them what to do instead of them tell us what to do. And they have it set up right now where they get retirement, which they don't deserve it. Okay, it's not always been that way where they get a retirement, and this is from city, county, state, and federal government. They get a retirement. We didn't get a vote on that. There's no term limits, which there should be completely. Term limits, no retirement. They don't deserve retirement. They do not deserve to be in there the rest of their life, like the Supreme Court. They don't deserve retirement. They don't deserve all these benefits. Once they're in there, fine. They get benefits and stuff once they're in there. But once they leave office, they don't deserve the retirement and benefits for the rest of their life. They're the only ones that deserve that. No one else. And even that, they have term limits. They're term limit, but they don't have term limits for the U.S. House or U.S. Senate. They get retirement, and they get insurance with full benefits and perks and everything else. No, that's not the way it was set up. That's what you get when you get that in D.C. The American people do not realize that we, the American people, are living in a dictatorship. We're living in a communist country, and they're telling the American people what to do. We're supposed to be telling them what to do, but yet they think they got it in their head they're going to tell us what to do. Well, I'm giving the American people the option to support me and get away from this, what's going on in D.C., because that does not represent America. It's called the District of Columbia. Now, have you ever thought about that? It's called Washington, D.C., which they have no Second Amendment rights. They don't have any rights at all if you reside in Washington, D.C. The place is like, the best way to describe Washington, D.C., and I've been there, it's creepy. It's a creepy city, or whatever you want to call it. The only way to describe it is it's a fake town. It's like, the only way to describe it's like Resident Evil. It's like Raccoon City. That's the only way to, it's an ugly, disgusting town. Okay. Yes, it's got a lot of history in there, but you can sense the evil. There's cameras all over the place. It does not, after going there, when you look under the surface, when you look around, you see all these cameras, you can see the Big Brother watching you all the time. You can see how evil it really is. What it's transformed. It's not what it was in 1776. It's morphed into we're coming after you type of mentality. It does not represent the American people. Believe me, trust me. You want freedom. You want real freedom. You want to know the real truth. Okay? It's me. You support me and the way the vision of the way America should be. you need to contact me and talk to me and work with me, join forces with me. And we could have a path of freedom unlike you ever seen before. I've got ideas that could make this best, freest country on the planet. The rules that we do set up is going to be there to protect everybody, punish criminals, which in our country, they don't punish criminals. They don't execute scumbags in our country. They protect them. They release them. They release scumbags. These victims' families, they don't have no say at all. And they should have the right to, see justice, and, the family of that Rebecca Schaefer and the family members, the people, and there's got to be people that's related to, that's still alive, that's related to the victims that are still alive, or friends of the victims of the Manson family and some other people that have been slaughtered. The people that have been slaughtered, and now they're talking about releasing this redheaded kid who went into the in his school shooting or something, releasing school shooters, and these malls, and the people that went in and killed these people, and recent history in the last 20, and all these shootings, all these school shootings, mall shootings, church shootings, movie theater shootings, all these people, this has been happening in the last, 20, 30, 40 years. They go in and start killing a bunch of people. And then later on, they release them or whatever. There's no reason why these people shouldn't be executed. Well, I'm going to tell you right now, I'm making a prediction what's going to happen. All this stuff, all this injustice, they're going to be taken down. CFA is going to be we're going to be taking control of this country one way or another, because chaos will ensue some way or another. And the people that I know, I'm very confident. Of course, DC will say, well, we ain't going to do this. You can't do it. Well, we're going to do it. Okay. We're going to do it. Okay. And because the bottom line is, I've talked to we've talked to people in government, and in fact, I've told them what needs to be done in our country that will make a better country. The ones in DC, they like to stick their nose in other people's business. And the way they've got these goon squads out here and their cocky attitude is going to end up getting them hurt. They had no business going down there at Waco. They had no business doing what they did up there in Idaho. The thing about it is, they've pushed it for so many years. They have pushed it and pushed it and pushed it. And one of these days, they're going to push the wrong people at the wrong time, and they'll regret it. And it's in their nature. They don't like to be wrong. They do not like to be wrong. They don't like to have egg on their face. And it's a matter of pride. They're like, well, if they get their butts handed to them, they come after and vengeful. They don't. It's like, oh, we don't want to look stupid or embarrassing. They made some stupid mistakes in the past, from Vietnam and over there in Mogadishu, Somalia. And they've screwed up about every direction I've seen it. Okay, and they've had egg on their face many times. And then when they get their butts handed to them, they say, well, we'll come back in a vengeance, blah, blah, blah. Well, guess what? They're going to get their butts kicked one way or another, and they will end up with egg on their face, the worst egg ever. And they're just going to have to get over it. What the CFA wants to do is tell and wake up the American people, is to say, and I could lay it out. I could sit down with anybody and tell you what our new plan is. The plan that if anybody had time to sit down, I could put a marker board. I could meet some people over there at a conference, and I could have a marker board up, and I could tell you what our new plan is to make. Now, Trump talks about making America great again. If you want to make America great again, you're going to create jobs here in America. You're going to make stuff here in America and stop depending on China to do it. Electronics. When it comes to electronics, computers, and all this, there's no reason why this can't be done here in America. There's a lot of young people, college students, people in high school, junior high school, that's real smart. These future scientists, I was in biology. I was great at biology, and there's a lot of kids that's good in science, biology, chemistry, and there's a lot of kids that's good in science, technology, computer technology. That's real smart, and these are the future. And that's the reason why there's no reason why that we shouldn't be making stuff here in America. Our future depends upon it. And you have Russia and China and some other, those two countries that are looking, because it's not something we want as America. As America, we have no choice, but we have to get involved in the robotics because Russia and China is getting into that. It's a matter of survival. And personally, I don't think any country in the world should have nuclear weapons. Unfortunately, countries in the world do have nuclear weapons, and they've got it aimed in our direction. It's not just by one country, but China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran. Probably Iran, if they get them, they launch nuclear missiles on our country without any hesitation whatsoever. And that's the reason why we want to let those other countries know that we have no issues with them. We believe we don't want to interfere in their internal affairs and their neighbors, their countries that live next to them, as long as they don't mess with us and our neighbors in Canada, Mexico, Central South America, Cuba. This is our territory. We have a right. This is our business here. We don't want you sticking your nose in our business. We won't stick our nose in your business. That's what Joe Biden wants to do. That's what Joe Biden has been doing from the start. Jack up the price of gasoline, and everything's got out of control. This COVID-19 mask mandate, stuff like that, we're not falling for it. They tried everything they could. They tried everything in the book. The American people right now, I'm saying right now, you better wake up. They've tried everything on the American people. They tried to destroy us with the gas prices and everything else. And we're going to do everything we can. We're going to be doing everything we can. That's why we need to work with people, because we're going to make our own fuel, ammunition, everything else, where we don't depend upon what's going on there in DC. We need to be more independent and do our own thing and be independent of DC and do our own thing. And they not tell us what to do. We got to do what we have to do, basically. When I made all these like this map up here is only given to the people that I know and trust. No outsiders is allowed to use these maps. But I'm setting up these stations, fueling. I'll be setting up fueling stations, and the price of gasoline, or it's not fuel, but the price of fuel in these stations, which I'm going to be needing help doing these conferences. And this is going to be, at least we're going to start off, try to get one in one county, okay, and the fuel for the vehicles, and have everything retrofitted for the fuel. I'm not going to talk specifically about what kind of fuel we will be using for the vehicles, okay, but the fuel that we'll be using for the vehicles, which they're trying to get everybody on the electric, because they'll jack up the price of gasoline so high. And if the Russians or Chinese used an EMP on us, they could knock us out. Well, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be using a different fuel, and the price of the fuel is a lot cheaper than what DC could do, because they'll jack up whatever rates they want. We're completely against property taxes. I've had a lot of disagreements with a lot of people about property taxes. Like, they want property taxes. I'm completely against it. June Griffith down in I don't know where it's Athens or Sweetwater, where she lives. She's libertarian. With a libertarian, it's a watered down version of a Democrat, in my opinion. Said, well, they need to have retirement. Politicians need to have retirement benefits, after leave, and she's for property taxes. She's so used to that. She said, well, the American people never had the right to vote on the laws. Well, I think it's time to change that. If that's the case, if the American people have never had the right to vote on the laws, we're going to change that. We are going to change that. First of all, we'll get the right laws in place, and then we'll say, okay, these laws are in place. Once a person's found guilty of the Capital One murder, they're executed once we find out. And they're not going to be sitting in prison for 30 years on death row. They'll be executed right on the spot. Ain't like our system we have now, which is corrupt attorneys, corrupt district attorneys, lawyers, district attorneys, and judges. That's not the way it's going to be set up under the CFA. But yeah, you can kiss property taxes goodbye. I don't have a problem with income taxes. Just lower the percentage, 5 to 10%. You could have a federal income tax, 5 to 10%, state income tax, 5 to 10%. Adds up to no more than 20% combined, state and federal. And like, this is just income tax of your income. And they don't go after your property. When you pay off your mortgage, or you're not renting is different. You got to pay whatever price the renter, your landlord says. They want to charge $900,000 a month. Well, you choose to live there, then you're going to have to come up with the money to pay for it, whatever it may be. But if you own your land, okay, if you own your land, whether it be in the city or the county, don't matter. If you own that land, then you shouldn't have to pay property taxes. Now, I understand about noise not being real loud if you live in the city, and there's certain rules and regulations that you have to adhere to when you live in the city. But like I said, if you live out in the country, you know, also, if, like I said, in, the way they've got the laws set up right now, they said if you making so much money, they'll go after you. And then, like I said, it's an out of control train, an out of control government. Obviously, it's been out of control for a very long time. Very long time. There needs to be a change in the system, the way it's set up. Okay, completely. They say, well, when we need to go back to the Constitution. Well, it needs to be strengthened, and there needs to be things added to it to say, hey, there's no property taxes. I don't know if it was in the Constitution or not about property taxes, but if it was in the original Constitution, whether it be state Constitution or federal Constitution, they need to do away with property taxes. That's number one. And the income taxes, if any of these laws that they're putting out there, if it was actually part of the original Constitution or Declaration of Independence, whatever you want to call it, if it was originally part of it, and there's some messed up law that needs to be changed, it needs to be changed. I'm ancestors to the founding fathers, the ones that wrote up the Constitution, Declaration of Independence. Had ancestors that fought in every war in American history, on both sides. Civil War, fought, and have ancestors that were in every country. Native American ancestors. Have ancestors that were probably black, ancestors that were in England. So it doesn't matter to me whether you're white, black, whatever. But if you're in an organization like the Black Lives Matter organization, and you need to get out of that organization, you do not need to support them. You say, well, I can't go against them because I'll be called Uncle Tom. Well, so what? So what? You just need to act like a human being, not act like an animal or a monster. You need to get away with that from that organization. There's been a lot of parents who've told their children that you need to get away from this terrorist organization. It's only going to get you in trouble. It's only going to get you killed. And those people that have been involved in or plan on getting involved in a Black Lives Matter organization, plan on doing their riots in the future. I can't help what happened in the past with what Black Lives Matter did. They've done a lot of death and destruction and everything else. I'm just saying right now, this is on. I'm putting this out right now. I don't care, FBI, whoever is sees this. I'm putting BLM, Antifa on notice, Boogaloo Boys on notice. Whatever happened in the past, happened in the past. Whatever you did, your little terroristic thing that you did in 2020 or whatever year it was, that's one thing. But you continue, I'm just telling you right now, you continue down this course, you're going to pay big time. You're going to pay big time if you continue down the course that you're continuing down. You're going to get hurt, and you're going to put a stop what you're doing, or you're going to get seriously hurt. Okay? Because you're responsible for some of the most ugly things in American history. And the federal government comes in and they say, well, we're going to punish everybody because of what you did. And when it comes, and I've said this many times, the American people are not supposed to be afraid of the government. The government's supposed to be afraid of we the people. When I'm just telling this to the federal government, you're going to be afraid of me. you're definitely going to be afraid of me. Why? I'll tell you why. Number one reason why. Because I've already woke up the American people. I'm waking up people every single day. I'm waking up people. That's what you fear is the truth. And I'm telling people the truth. Everything that I've come up, everything they're doing, all this transgender, gay, all this stuff that they're doing right now, Common Core, all this stuff, it's going to come to a crashing halt. And I'm going to be the one that puts a stop to it. Whether you like it or not, I'm going to put a stop to it. One way or another, I'm going to put a stop to it. Okay? There's some really pissed off parents and people right now about what's going on. I'm not the only one that's saying this. Believe me, I'm not the only one. I'm just a spokesman. I'm just a figurehead speaking for the American people. That's all I am. I'm just telling you what the American people are feeling. I'm calm about this compared to a lot of people, compared to these parents. They're really ticked off about what's going on right now. How they're the stuff that they're putting in the schools and everything. What Disney is doing. You know, what they're doing on television. You know, so like I said, you know, we're going to be waking up the American people. We're going to put a stop to all this stuff that's going on right now. I'm confident that we can do that. We just need people to, in order to make this work, in order to get this going effectively quick, is we need people to contact me, contact people I work with, so we can get this started. The sooner we start, the better off we'll be. The sooner we'll be a freer country and let people know, hey, we're tired of the crap. We're not going to take it anymore. And, you know, we're putting a stop to all this stuff. And, you know, in many ways, people have already woke up. You know, the American people have woke up in many ways. There's victories on a small scale. You know, bad things happen to the bad people. And we have prospered. I have prospered. And it's because I'm on the right track and I'm speaking the truth. You know, so you need to think about that. You need to contact me, General Mark Davis, 865-338-6576. We can talk about it. Website, www.cfacsa.com. And my business office. I'm telling people that you have no fear but fear itself. Do not fear terrorism. You fight it. Well, by any means necessary. And that's what the CFA does. We will face it. We will destroy it. Any terrorism from whatever source it may be, we will destroy it. Utterly annihilate terrorism. We will destroy terrorism. The CFA will destroy terrorism in this country. And people are going to see it. You're going to see it firsthand because we're not going to tolerate it anymore. Thank you for your time.